Growing up, the term Platinum Dunes, I didn't realize was going to have as much of an effect on me as it has today. And I just kind of wanted to talk about the Platinum Dunes era, specifically the horror remake era that Platinum Dunes had, because, man, I don't know if influential is the word to use by today's standards, but it certainly defined a period of time. Looking back, maybe it's rose-colored glasses, but I just wanted to talk about Platinum Dunes and their big horror remake era. They're still around. It's a Michael Bay production company, and for a time, they were taking a lot of the great slasher films of the heyday of the early 80s and 70s and bringing them to a new audience in the 2000s, in the mid to late 2000s specifically. It was just, man, it was incredible. And I'll never forget hearing about the first one. All the kids at school were talking about it. It was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This was a movie, of course, like that, you know, the name preceded the film, of course. And hearing that it was getting remade to me was just like, is that legal? Because the movie was so scary before even seeing it as a kid. The idea of remaking it, I thought sounded illegal. That's the reputation that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre had. And, you know, that movie, you know, looking back at it, I totally get it. It's the right kind of movie. It's the right look of a movie that definitely grabbed the audience at that time. And still to this day, you ask a lot of people what's one of their favorite horror remakes. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is among one of the highest ones people absolutely love. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. And even though I have personal taste things that I would have done differently with that movie, to deny its power would be absolutely silly on my part. Little did I know that I would start to see that name Platinum Dunes before a lot of movies that I loved. Now, I got to see this other one in the theaters. Now, Platinum Dunes had success with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so then they made a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. Now, guys, I gotta say, I am a massive fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. Whether it be the look of the movie, whether it be the feel of the movie, this is Texas Chainsaw to me, way more so than 2003, which I know could be a little criminal to say, but this is the one. And I did get to see this one in theater, so that may alter my perception, admittedly, but not really, I don't think, because to me, that could have been the remake. The story of that one was great. I love it. Obviously, you see the way things played out looking back in 2003, but I thought this one completely stood on its own. I love the story with the brothers evading the war, one of them's trying to get a war, and then the family, the Hewitts, and then you got the biker gang. Everything about this one, it added elements that, you know, things that were not done like in the original, but just cohesive. It felt hot, humid. You felt that Texas heat. I loved the portrayal more of Leatherface in this film rather than what it was done in 2003. They weren't totally different, but to me they had different shades of gray in terms of how much of a slasher villain Leatherface is portrayed as. And yeah, so I remember seeing this in the theater, and little did I know that film would stick with me all these years later. I absolutely love The Beginning, and that could be my all-time favorite Platinum Dunes horror movie. I really can. I love it. But they also did the Amityville Horror. Again, this is one that I would rent from Blockbuster back in the day, and I really used to love this one. It's been a number of years since I've watched the, I believe it was 2005 Amityville Horror remake, but I remember thinking like, damn, this is pretty creepy. It was very respectful to the original film for sure. But I felt like, looking back now that I've become a big fan of the original, and I like this one stood on its own too. And that's one thing I feel like Platinum Dunes was doing well at that time was, you know, their remakes were respectful to the original films, but I felt like, for the most part, a lot of them still stood on their own and had their own unique styles to them. And yeah, the Amityville Horror remake, that's a film that needs a nice studio Blu-ray release or a boutique label release to bring it to an audience again, because that would excite me, because that was a film, when I think about it, I have great memories of it. So that was another one. But then there's one of them that I honestly need to revisit again. I remember renting this from Blockbuster. Platinum Dunes did a remake of The Hitcher. Now, the Rutger Hauer original is an all-time classic. I absolutely love The Hitcher, the original. And the remake, again, I saw this well before I saw the original because this was my era. I am a product of the Platinum Dunes era, if you will. History will show that my memory's probably foggy on it because I don't recall ever talking about this movie that much. So maybe my remembrance of liking it could be off, but you tell me what you think about the Hitcher remake. It's been a while since I've seen it. I need to see it again. Now, one of the biggest Platinum Dunes movies ever done was Friday the 13th. Now, this would be a big joint venture with Warner Brothers and Paramount coming together, seemingly without even realizing that they had to. Warner Brothers and Platinum Dunes were going straight ahead making this movie until Paramount was like, you guys can't do this. We own the name Friday the 13th. You can't call it this unless we're involved. Luckily, because the film had already been started to be filmed, a deal was made. Paramount was like, screw it. We'll distribute it foreign. Warner Brothers New Line can have it domestically. And Platinum Dunes went ahead. We got Marcus Spinell back in the director's chair, and he's been pretty vocal that he did not have as much fun with this one as he did on, say, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But I've been vocal. For the things that the Friday the 13th remake may not do great, what it does do correctly, I think, it's just incredible, with Derek Mears being Jason, and the opening scene of that movie, I think, is some of the best stuff the entire franchise has to offer. I like the Friday the 13th remake, and when I look back at the Platinum Dunes era, I look at the Friday remake as a big highlight. And it's interesting thinking about the style, the look of the movies, the production value of those Platinum Dune movies. They all had there's an evenness to them, I think. I feel like you can really see a healthy budget, a nice production on these movies, even though that they're going to have people that don't like this era or don't like those movies. I think you can agree there was a certain level of prestige you felt in terms of quality from those Platinum Dune movies, and Friday the 13th was no exception, I think. So, and what was really cool looking back was seeing what was going on in the world. You had the Supernatural guys taking over, and we had Jared Padalecki in here, so I'll always look back at the Friday the 13th remake as one of my favorite Platinum Dune movies. And Platinum Dune would continue on, obviously, and they're still going. They were in charge of the Ouija movies, the Purge movies, but one of the last big remakes they would do is the A Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and almost a weird way to go out because I feel like this one has a fairly big negative reception, which is kind of a shame. Even for myself, there are things I just don't love. Obviously, I like Jackie, and I like some elements taken, like the Quentin character. But it's almost a little sad to see the way the Platinum Dunes era really kind of ended, because even though they're still going on, and I think they even do in the Quiet Place movies, but I feel like the real era of Platinum Dunes, when you say it, I feel like the bookmark of the big era for them was the Elm Street remake, which is somewhat kind of sad because I kind of think I'd like to see Platinum Dunes come back in a big way and get involved in a big property again. Hell, I almost would be happy if Platinum Dunes would have taken over The Exorcist instead of Blumhouse. I still feel that they could be a force in horror. Like getting Marcus Spinell back, I'd love to see him come back and direct another great horror remake of something because I like the guy's style and I think he was a great fit for them. But I guess the purpose of this video was, what are your thoughts on the Platinum Dunes big horror remake era? Do you look back on it and kind of wish you would have enjoyed it more than you did? Because that's how I feel. I feel like I didn't live in the moment enough enjoying that era. And I feel like I should have more. But maybe, some stuff just kind of ages better to people and some stuff ages worse to people. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to talk about the Platinum Dunes era because it was such a big part of my life. It just really was. So I don't know, guys. Tell me your thoughts. What are your favorite movies from the Platinum Dunes remake era? And what is your least favorite? And which one did you think kind of is aging a little bit better than the others? Thank you guys for watching this video. I can't wait to see what the people are saying down below about the Platinum Dunes era. I think I'm a fan of it. I can't help it. It was just a big part of my life. So thank you guys for watching this, and I'll see you guys next time. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.